Hello, Julie here, and thank you for joining me here today on my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be creating a few pages in the album I'm making for my granddaughter's yearly album. Each year I make her an album that just has highlights of her year in it. I'm using a uniquely creative ring-bound binder this year. And today I'm going to make about 3 pages, I think. One of the pages that I'm going to create is a plastic insert pocket. Well, it's got 4 pockets in it that you can buy to go in this album. And the other 2 I'm going to create. One's going to be with a sheet of vellum and the other one is going to be using cardstock. Anyway, let's get started. So you can buy vellum inserts for this album. So this is one of them. They come in a pack. Can't remember how many in a pack. But I'm just going to score this at 1 inch from the outside edge. Then I'm going to use my bone folder and score that fold and then run a piece of tape. Now this is a 1/8 inch wide tape, so it's very narrow. I'm going to run a strip of that down the raw edge of the paper or vellum. Now I'm going to cut a strip of pattern paper that is 2¼ inches wide by 9½ inches long. So the vellum page itself is 7 inches by 9½, but then I've folded it in one so it's 6 inches wide. So my pattern paper, I'm going to trim that down to 2¼ by 9½. Then I'm going to use my distressing tool, distress all around the edges and then ink all of the edges with my black Versacolor ink cube. Now I'm going to run a piece of that same tape down the right hand edge of my pattern paper. Now all of the pattern papers that I'm using in this whole folder are from Denise Boddey. I'll put a link to her shop in the description box below. She's got some beautiful papers if you want to go and check them out. So I'm going to run that tape down the right hand edge of this pattern paper. Then I'm going to peel the backing off of both pieces and attach the pattern paper to the right hand edge of the vellum. I'm going to leave about 1/4 inch. So 1/4 inch of the vellum is showing and then the pattern paper. This way I'm making a pocket. To decorate that little panel, I have got a piece of chipboard, also from Denise Boddey's shop, and I have painted it white, and now I'm going to give it a coat of gold Kinder Glitz. I started out using this gold glitter pen, but it didn't have enough gold in it, and it just more or less looked too white, not enough gold. So I changed to the gold Kinder Glitz. I wasn't looking for a complete coverage, but I did want a bit of gold on it. I also had a little sprig of leaves that I had fussy cut from one of the pattern papers. I've inked around the edge of that, and you can see just above there I've got a gold bow. I used dye to create that bow. I don't know the name of the dye or the brand of the dye. I haven't got the packaging for that anymore, so I can't help you with that if you're looking for a bow dye. Now I'm going to work on the first of the pocket pages, well, the first side of the pocket pages. I've got 2 photos that I have printed in a small version, and I'm going to mat those on a piece of black cardstock that has just got a 1/16 of an inch border around each photo. Then I'm going to cut a sheet of paper from the Cogs in Time range that is like 4x3 pocket pieces. They're actually bigger than 4x3 and I have to trim them down, so I do that as well. All of the items on this page have the edges distressed, so with my distressing tool and the black ink cube, and the photos actually have the edges filed with an emery board. So I'm going to attach the photos to the backs of 2 of those panels, and I'm going to have the front of 2 of the panels showing on this side of the page. I'm going to put this on fast forward and work through it very quickly, because it's just a matter of inking and stamp, trimming and distressing and whatever. You would think that this would be a pretty straightforward sort of a thing to do, but for some reason I've messed around with it and fussed around, and it took me quite some time to do it. I have sped this video up quite a bit. It did actually take me over two hours to do this work, and I've condensed it down into about a 20-minute video. To fill that strip through the centre of the pocket page, I cut a piece of the, well, it's actually an offcut from that same steampunk page. I cut a piece that was 6 3/4 inches long by, well, I cut it an inch wide, but really for it to fit a bit easier, I should have really cut it at 7/8 of an inch. So anyway, I've trimmed that down, and I'm going to distress the edges with my distressing tool and then ink the edges as well. Now I'm going to start work on the back of the vellum page. So I'm using a 6x4 photo. Once again, I've filed around the edges with a emery board, and now I'm matting that onto a piece of black cardstock so that I've just got that fine 1/16 of an inch border. Now I've chosen a piece of pattern paper, and I'm going to mat my photo onto that, and I'm going to allow 1/4 of an inch or thereabouts all the way around. I've used double-sided tape to attach all of my layers for my photo. Time now to attach my photo to my vellum. I'm using double-sided tape for this. I thought about what to use, but double-sided tape was the best idea because it shows the least on the other side of the vellum, and because I've got that program in there and the size of the program, it covers most of this up anyway. You can only see it when the program is not in the pocket. So yeah, and once again I'm only using the 1/8 of an inch tape so that it's minimal tape. So now I have the double spread assembled, it's time to embellish. So to embellish this, these pages, I have stamped and heat embossed a flower, and it's 5 layer flower, and it's from Denise Boddey and it's called Primrose. It's a stamp and die set. So I've heat embossed that and then fussy cut that, or we'll use my die to cut it out, and then shaped it and stuck it all together, layering on top of each other. Then the other items I'm going to embellish this page with are fussy cut from the pattern paper. So I'm going to use my liquid glue to attach these to my page. Now on the pocket page I'm going to put, in that centre strip, I'm going to use some stickers to write fringe so that we know where it was, and I have got a little flower that I've created using Couture Creations CO 724161 die. I've just used the 2 smallest layers of the flower, there's 4 layers altogether, and I've inked around the edge of those and added them with a little bit of fussy cut leaves from the pattern paper. I'm going to work on the back of the pocket page now, and the layout now is the photos are from a holiday we had in Queensland. So I have got some smaller photos, and these photos are actually 3x4. So all I've got to do is trim them down to size, distress the edges of them, and insert them into the pockets. My chipboard is dry now, so I'm going to go back to my first page, the vellum page, and I'm going to attach my embellishments to that. So the piece of chipboard, the little leaf cluster, and the gold bow. Now I'm going to create a fold out page. I've got quite a few photos for the rest of the holiday, so I want to include as many as I can. So I'm going to cut 2 sheets of white cardstock. This is 300 GSM smooth white cardstock. I'm going to cut one piece 7 inches by 9.5 inches and one piece 7.5 by 9.5. I could have actually cut them both at 7 by 9.5. So if you're going to do something like this, well then my advice would be to just cut the 2 at 7 by 9.5. Because those clips are there, you know, the ring binders there, that takes up 1/2 inch, and so I end up having to cut off 1/2 inch from the top layer of my cardstock. On the 7.5 by 9.5 inch piece, I scored at 7 inches, so that gives me a 1/2 inch fold. That 1/2 inch piece is going to be what joins my 2 pieces together, so that's going to be like the hinge. I'm going to run a row of 1/2 inch tape along that small section on the outside of my score line, and then I'm going to lay out the 2 pieces together and attach them, so that I end up with 2 pieces attached together that measure 7 inches by 9.5 inches. Now I'm going to use one of the plastic pockets that come with the folder to mark where I need to punch my holes. So I'm going to mark them with a circle using a pencil, and then I'm going to use my hole punch to punch those holes in the position so that it sits nicely in my folder. So this is where I realise that the top one is too long, so I'm going to take that out of there and trim 1/2 inch off of that top leaf. So now the page sits in there nicely. I've chosen some pattern papers, and I'm going to cut 4 pieces of paper that are 6.5 by 9.25, and then I'm going to distress the edges as I have with everything else, and then attach them to the 4 separate pages in that little booklet. Unfortunately, because each page or each piece of pattern paper has to be 6.5 inches wide, it means I have to start a fresh page or a fresh pattern paper for each sheet. But I will use the offcuts further up in the album. I can make pockets or fussy cut them out or whatever to create embellishments. So while it does look a bit extravagant at this point in time, those pieces will be used. Now I'm going to attach those pattern papers, making sure that the edge clears those binder rings. Now I'm going to use a piece of off-cut cardstock because I want to make a pocket on this page. I've got so many photos I haven't got room to display them all. So I'm making a pocket, and the pocket is 3.25 inches deep and 6.5 inches wide. I'm also going to cut a piece of pattern paper that is 6.25 by 3 inches. Both of these, well, the pattern paper will have the edges distressed, and the white cardstock will be attached to that pattern paper that's attached to the big page, just around the 3 edges, and I'm going to use my liquid glue to do that. Now I've got 3 6x4 photos of a shopping trip we did to Pacific Fair, so I have filed around the edges of each of these photos and then matted them onto some black cardstock, once again just leaving a very fine 1/16 of an inch border, and I'm then going to attach them to the inside of that booklet. The two on the left hand page will overlap each other and the one on the right will just be on its own. I will end up adding another photo over that one as well, but at this point in time there's only the 3 photos on the inside. The photos that I wanted to put in the pocket have also had the same treatment as all of the other photos, so file around the edge and mat onto some black cardstock. These will go in the back pocket. I had 2 smaller photos left over as well, and my plan was to put them in the pocket along with the other photos, but when I was doing it I thought, well, I might just add one of these photos to the inside as well. So one of the smaller photos is going to go down there, sort of overlapping the photo of Pacific Fair. Time now to embellish. I'm not doing any embellishing whatsoever on the inside of the folder. I think the pattern paper and the photos are enough in there. On the pocket I'm going to add some fussy cut pieces, and there is one die cut piece of purple cardstock. I think the die is from Uniquely Creative, but if you want to know, just put a comment in the comments below and I will look it up for you. So I'm just decorating the front of the pocket with some fussy cut pieces, and I'm also decorating the back section of the pocket page that we've already created. So I'm just putting some more fussy cut things on there. I've made a flower type thing out of some stars for that section. So I'm going to go ahead, put this on fast forward and do that. So for the title, I have used a die to cut out the words from black cardstock. Now this die I purchased off of one of those buy, swap and sell pages on Facebook, and I don't know the brand or anything like that of it, but it's a nice fine tall thin font, so that's what I was interested in. Now because it is so thin and fiddly, what I'm going to do is put a bit of glue onto one of my acrylic blocks and then use a sponge to just dab the glue onto the back of the letter and then add it to my page. Now I am using my T-ruler in an effort to try and get it straight. They don't always work for me, but they should. So I think it actually works out okay this time round. So I'm just going to go ahead, put this on fast forward and attach that title. I'm going to use the same technique for each of those letters. So here's a flip through of the pages I've done in this session. So there's the vellum page with the pocket. Then on the back of that we have got a main photo with some embellishments, and then we've got the pocket page. Then we've got the flip out page with the pocket. So that's my effort for this session. I think 3 pages. I've still got quite a few pages to go. I have been a bit slack, unfortunately, with my keeping up to date with this book, and it's nearly the end of the year, which is when I usually give it to her, so I need to get mobile and get it finished. So that will be my concentrated effort over the next month, I guess. And yeah, well, I hope you've enjoyed watching this video, and I hope I've given you some inspiration, and I hope that you'll join me when I post my next video. Bye.